I want to welcome everybody to this DirectScale sponsored webinar. We've got a great guest today in Steve Jamieson, who is a consultant in the direct selling industry, has got an amazing background, and the work that he's doing right now is the stuff that I'm most compelled by and intrigued by. We've known each other for years and have had an opportunity to have a lot of different conversations over the years, but you know, this conversation is really timely. We both care about the industry that we have grown up in and been participating in for many, many years. We want it to be successful. You know, we want people to be able to leverage it. We want people to we want to be able to bring the strengths and awesomeness of direct selling into relevancy and continued relevancy in the future. And that, as it turns out, is you know, not automatic by any stretch of the imagination as things are changing so rapidly. So, you know, that kind of just kicks off the conversation today, but want to welcome you, Steve, to the party, and let's just jump in and talk about kind of the state of things and get rolling.
Yeah, for those of you who are coming on, I want this conversation to be like the after conversation at a party, right? Not the fake conversation during the party. This is where we talk about everyone, how they dressed, how they looked, right? In the sense that kind of honest candor about our business. And we can do that, the truth is, as Rodger said, because we love our business. And that gives us permission, right, to look at it honestly. And the reason we want to do that is because we can't tell you where we both want to go if you don't honestly talk about where we are and where we've been. And so what I always like to say, you know, is we're the most unusual vertical in the world in the sense that we're one of the few, right, where the government is overtly obvious about not liking us, right? Not just not liking the fringe players or the people who make claims. They don't like our core business model. They don't like the idea that we sign up salespeople who don't get paid for selling customers. And they have been direct about it. They have litigated us, and it doesn't look like that's going to stop anytime soon. Mm-hmm. The second thing that's obvious to me is that the public has a very bad brand and image of network marketing. I don't know anyone who goes to a party and the first thing they want to say out of their mouth is, I'm a network marketer, is if they're trying to impress people. Right?
You know, I'll pause you on that one. This just reminds me, when Jim and I were out raising money in the VC space for DirectScale, when we were looking for investors, invariably, you know, it's not everybody, but there's at least one partner, you know, in every one of those investor meetings who had a negative taste in their mouth or a negative perception about direct selling, network marketing, MLM. And part of our job then had to be to try to overcome that. Man, if we wouldn't have had to worry about overcoming that perception, we would have raised a lot more money.
And what's interesting is so many other verticals started out with the same brand and the same reputation, but they grew past it because they modified themselves, they changed, they honestly realized what they needed to do. We're the only ones who get defensive every time someone brings that up. And unfortunately, that defensiveness went even one step further, right? In the sense that we didn't want to change the business model. So you know what we did? We changed the names, right? We changed ourselves from multi-level marketing to network marketing to direct sales to then we got cool and we're social selling, then we're social e-commerce. And then we called our people, instead of independent business people, we call them brand ambassadors and consultants, right? But we never changed the business model. And somehow that was going to make a difference. And that entrenchment that we had with our own love affair with our own business, calling ourselves the misunderstood vertical, also extended, as you know, Rodger, now better than I do, because you are the contrarian, particularly in technology, was the same thing to resistance to technology, is that technology was going to interfere with the people-to-people marketing, the belly-to-belly, right? Zoom was our enemy. We needed to meet people at the kitchen table. And this isn't 10 years ago. I mean, this is only a few months ago where I was having a conversation with the CEO of $1 billion network marketing company who said, I don't want to teach people to do Zoom. I want to teach people to meet face-to-face. And so when we talk about, trying to overcome ourselves, and what a challenge it is. So how do we talk about how we're going to become the coolest new next distribution channel in the world if we don't kind of recognize that's our history, right? That's where we're coming from. And so I don't know anyone, whether it be in their personal lives or whether in their business life, that usually doesn't make a dramatic change unless they have to. And so there's two things that I think happened in our business where we've had that epiphany, right? We've had that moment. One of them, the dirty word in our business now, is Shopify, right? Yep. Shopify and Amazon came along, and so did Airbnb, and so did Uber, and so did Etsy, and so did all these alternative income opportunities, where all of a sudden, with no money down, people could sign up in the morning, get a customer in the afternoon, and get a check before they came home from dinner. And we were still pitching $500 packages, right? Personal growth and development training, right? I mean, the entire scenario where somebody ended up in 90 days deeper in the hole in our business frequently, when the other person was already paying off the bills, which is why they wanted a part-time job to begin with. Now, that's not an opinion, right? Just look at the numbers. For 5 years in a row, sales went down. For 5 years in a row, right, distributor crew went down. And I'm particularly talking about the US market. You know, the Latin American market, European, Asian, they're in a different cycle. their right. Day is coming, right? Yep. But for us, it was a challenge, and we didn't respond. And you, in your unique position, where you're only a handful of vendors to the largest companies literally in the world, trying to service people who didn't know what service they wanted from you. Because traditionally, they looked at you as commissions and reporting, which was the sexiness about direct sales. We're the only people that can do it, and you were one of the only few people who could do it well. And then, 7 years ago, when you started to reinvent that business model by having a sexy front end, right? Not realizing that your other vendors weren't your competitors, but there was the Shopifys and the Amazons that were. I mean, look at Amazon. 50% of Amazon sales come from individual merchants, not Amazon direct. 1.2 million people, $60 billion in sales come from individuals on Shopify. If you want to know where our field went, we don't have to look very far in that sense, right? So the idea is how can we change? Well, we weren't, but then what happened for us? Something very unusual, right? 5 years of decline, no response. Then the pandemic happened. And all of a sudden, right, as I always tell the story that 3 people go to a mailbox, right? The Airbnb guy, right, who went to the mailbox, and instead of getting his income check, he only got the bill for 100% of what was due in his apartment that he couldn't rent, right? The Uber driver, who actually was a little happy because his unemployment check that he was qualified for was a little bigger than his Uber check, so he actually wasn't too upset, but he knew it was short term, right? And the direct sales guy, who went and actually got a bigger residual check than he got before the pandemic. All of a sudden, we forgot why we were in this business, that we truly had a home-based business, that you could actually work from home when everyone had to be at home, that really can be quite effective. And so all of a sudden, with technology and Zoom staring us in the face, everyone was calling you, Rodger, to go, what's the technology that we have, right, to all of a sudden become relevant, right? It was a different phone call than my commission check didn't calculate correctly in that sense. And that has been this window that has reopened to make us look about as innovators, as contrarians, not only who our competition is, but how do we need to compete in today's marketplace? And I know that's where you're going through, right? Like almost a complete reinvention, right? Hard to emotionally detach from what you build, hard financially to detach what you build when you realize we're not competing from vendor to vendor. We're competing against Shopify, we're competing against Amazon, we're competing against a technology that helps people acquire customers, market customers, analyze data. It's a very different business that we're in. And I hate to say this because it sounds ironic, but thankfully to the pandemic.
Yeah, crazy that would be the case. I was thinking earlier today about how there's been one trend, largely driven early on, I think more by regulatory pressure than probably anything else, to shift the focus of direct selling companies from rep or independent seller acquisition, opportunity selling versus product selling and more true customer acquisition. It's really a good thing, actually, that trend started, and that we've actually seen significant movement in that direction, because that's coming in the right direction, and that's all very positive. But what probably hasn't come as quickly are maybe the right compensation levers, the right thinking, maybe, or the more current thinking around how we should be structuring comp plans, et cetera, to drive that behavior. And then, to your point, this whole new universe of tools that's really needed and required to enable those independent sellers to get attribution and to have the right tools to compete in today's marketplace. So I know you've got some really good ideas and thoughts about
two things.
Comp plans as well.
The thing about comp plans, it's the elephant in the room, right? It's the thing that in today's world, to think that there's any network marketing CEO that wants to be called in front of a judge and explain the logic of a binary as a legitimate distribution structure that makes sense to anyone. I don't know who that guy is. I don't know what that argument is that convinces somebody that is a really good idea, right? But yet, and Rodger, right? You still have startups, right? That because they're coming from another network marketing company, they were earning a $3,000 check, I gotta have the binary, right? When the truth is the future of network marketing, or people coming off of Shopify, coming off of Amazon, that have achieved $25 or $50 or $100,000 a month in sales, and for the first time now are limited by those networks because they don't have comp plans that can organically drive behavior. That's the huge difference. We actually do things better than Shopify and Amazon if we apply it correctly. And the other thing that people have to realize is that our comp plans, in some ways, which is referral-based marketing, was the best thing that we had, and that other people are taking it from us and doing it better. So the question is, if Shopify goes MLM, are they better than MLM going Shopify? And so from my point of view, if I said to you that in the last 5 years in retail and online, there's only one marketing idea that has worked equally well offline and online. And if you remember last Christmas, I'll give you an example. If you went to the mall, the only thing that the Gap, Williams-Sonoma, and GNC had in common on Christmas Eve was they didn't have 70% sales off. They had spend $100 in our store, and we'll give you $20 instant cash back on your next purchase. Instant cash back is the only thing that has exploded in retail, in the mall, and online. And in fact, this is where I wanted to share a screen just to show you the power, right, of this. There's a company that I'm going to show you called Ibotta. And this company, I don't know why, no one's ever heard of. But if I told you that in less than, I think it's 6 years now, by paying their customers to browse, paying their customers to shop, and paying their customers when their friends shop, they've paid back people $860 million, and they never heard of the word MLM. GNC, I want to show you. So it's not just snobbery among online companies that think they're cool. What about Williams-Sonoma paying their people back? What about, again, GNC paying their money back? I guarantee you that their customers have made more money than some of our top network marketers from doing that referral. In fact, how much money do top network marketers make? It's interesting, in the US, here's one of the largest network marketing companies in the world, did more than $5.5 billion in sales, a good chunk of that in the US, right? 460 people out of almost 200,000 people who signed up in that company made more than $14,000 a month. Now, I don't know if you think that's good or bad, but I bet you it's Shopify and Amazon could compete with that number pretty easily. Sometimes I feel like we're a taxi driver trying to criticize Uber, that they don't do it better, right? Yeah. So that's what I meant. There's things that we have to do. So in network marketing, why do we have to start the comp plan paying the distributors? Why can't we start it paying the customers? Maybe that way we have organic growth. And then the behavior of a customer becomes the same behavior as a distributor. You get paid to browse, you get paid to shop, you get paid to friend shop, and we pay you when you build a team. I think people would actually mention that at the kitchen table or the water cooler, or I dated myself with the word water cooler the next day at work, right? I mean, so that's what I meant, is that there's one thing for us to have ideas, but it's really frustrating when everyone else is implementing them in every other vertical but ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned it. We have lagged, but a lot of it has been because of some of the things you mentioned initially, right? It's the defensive nature. It's not trying to look forward. It's trying to, oh well, we're misunderstood. You don't understand. If you understood, then you'd get it. But I think it was, there's a bold statement, a note that I think I took maybe even during one of our fast conversations, and that is that MLM, as we have known it, doesn't exist anymore. Now, there's companies that are still really trying to make that statement untrue, but the reality is it's kind of boiled down to now just a lower no cost customer acquisition channel, and if that's the only thing you're getting out of it, you're probably not treating it right. But by the same token, it was the original gig. The original gig, is network marketing and direct selling. It was the original nano influencer business model. And there's so many great things about that. But we're coming into a time of economic uncertainty. There's a lot of certain things, but there's a lot of economic uncertainty for a lot of people. And so wouldn't it be cool if we could bring the best of direct selling and network marketing to this party and deliver tools to brands to help them remain and stay relevant or be relevant in today's economy, and create just vast amounts of opportunity for a lot more people?
I'm saying to you that people will join DirectScale because they're in the customer acquisition business, not the reporting on customer acquisition, but actually in the customer acquisition, because that's why we lost our position in the gig economy. Everyone else got you a customer. We got you an opportunity. And there's no reason with technology today, and the cost of acquiring a customer with technology in some cases for some companies is actually less expensive than using the distributor, but the distributor is far more effective at upselling, selling brand, selling loyalty, selling the community, selling a sense of purpose. So the idea that maybe our network marketing distributors are the most powerful people in the world if used correctly, and if they have the technology designed for them to be used correctly, that's the brilliant thing. Is I always say is that Amazon created technology for the merchant, Shopify created it for the customer, Salesforce created it, for the independent, person looking for CRM. No one yet has truly owned and created, right, the technology for the new network marketer in that sense. And the truth is that new network marketer expects technology to acquire a customer with them, to market to a customer with them, to analyze the data about that customer, to use artificial intelligence to find more customers, to tell you what content to send to those customers. And I can tell you that, I guess the last and most important thing in today's world is to find where that customer is and send them the buy button where they are, not ask them to come to us to go buy the product. Today, buy buttons are everywhere. They're on a blog, they're on a Facebook post, they're on Instagram, they're on Pinterest, they're on Amazon, they're on eBay. So can you imagine taking a DirectScale button with its technology and putting it on Amazon and paying our comp plan alongside all the purchases that aren't paid in our comp plan, but because it's our buy button and our product, as opposed to looking at Amazon as an invasion from another planet who's stealing our sales, but a sales distribution channel that's an asset. Everything that we're talking about today exists. This isn't about what we need to invent. It's about needing to create it in a way that companies can use it across their field. And I can tell you that in the 20 years that we know each other, right, I've had this conversation with the owners of every single major back office provider in the industry, and they don't, and you're the only one, I'm not saying this because I'm talking to you, you're the only one that wants the conversation. They really want to build technology and have everyone else come to it and use their technology and figure all that out. The truth is they can't. They don't know the potential. Do you realize the top 100 network marketing companies, only 3 even have a position of chief innovation officer? They do innovation at lunchtime. which is not a problem. It's an opportunity for people like you and me to be that person for them, to show them the potential and show them the possibilities. That's the asset that we do. That's why there's the McKinseys of the world, right? People are paid to think about this 24 hours, 7 days a week, and then implement it. And that's why this is exciting. That's why this phone call is not, I hate to say it, a bitch session about our industry, right? It's about the opportunity for our industry and to deliver. And the truth is, I'm trying to do it from the outside in, but you're the guy doing it from the inside out. You're the guys right now currently serving some of the largest companies in the world with some incredible success. And they're looking at you for the answers. And the truth is, you're the only person who's going to deliver it. They're not getting it from any place else. And that's why these thought conversations that you and I have at lunch, right? We're putting it out there to a larger audience because we're going to get more back from them to participate in this journey.
Yeah, you mentioned that, these technologies exist. There is, it's a bit of an art to try to bring all those together in a cohesive end-to-end experience for a direct selling brand. And by the way, anytime we talk about direct selling brand, the way that I'm looking at this is we want to do that though. We want to deliver that experience. That doesn't mean that we'll be everything, but we'll be a hub around core key things that really do matter and move the needle. And then we'll make it easy to extend that and allow other great technologies to play in that ecosystem. And what we think is going to happen is as we dial that in for this industry, what ends up happening, we keep them relevant and we help them succeed in this new world. And then we start to see, like you mentioned, those companies who have been on Shopify or some other, commerce platform, and they've got a little bit of traction and they find themselves at that point where the only lever they've got to pull is I can throw more advertising dollars at it. And if that's the only thing you've got, then if the economics don't work out for you, if you don't have enough money to put into it, then you're kind of dead in the water. And that's where, we're hopeful that we create this category for brands to enable them to have more than just that throwing ad money at things, and rather help them to empower this channel of people to people influencers, et cetera, and work with them the way that they want to be worked with, be able to interact with them the way that they can, and then extend their reach through the authentic relationships that those influencers have.
If we're going to enter or help her, take us to the next direction, it has to be what I define as network partnering instead of network marketing. Companies need to partner with their distributors and bring them the technology to help them with customer acquisition. Companies like yourself need to partner with the best e-commerce engines in the world. I mean, when was the last time you asked your team to go build a new email? Right? There's certain people that own certain sectors that we can no longer compete with. I mean, what's very interesting is during the pandemic, when Zoom, even through their challenges, because no one goes from having a couple of million users to a couple of 100 million users without glitches, right? No competitor stepped up to challenge Zoom during the pandemic. Google Hangouts didn't all of a sudden offer a paid version, right? GoToMeeting didn't drop their price 50% and offer our new features. Where was Join Me? Where was Microsoft Teams? Where was Facebook? They couldn't do it because Zoom had spent too much money over too long a period of time building an infrastructure that people couldn't compete with. That's what the e-commerce world is now. People are spending millions of dollars. So it's a case of DirectScale doesn't have to go out and build a better e-commerce, but they have to build a better way to partner with them because we understand the vertical. We know the needs of the vertical. And I guarantee you that by next year at this time, that when you look at our marketplace, there won't be companies you never heard of looking for us to go sell their services to upgrade. It'll be the Shopifys of the world who seek you out because combined, you can create a unique experience for our distributors in our vertical that they can't without us. At the end of the pandemic, Zoom did one thing that was very interesting. They kind of copied Apple in the sense that they opened up a development division that invited people to make their product better. And that's where e-commerce is going. E-commerce can no longer reach the people they want to reach. The way Zoom couldn't reach network marketers for years, right, is the way e-commerce is going to come to the DirectScales of the world, because we can create an experience using their type of technology that is unmatched and unparred. So when I say a year from now, you're not going to all of a sudden see new players. You're going to see the best players come together, spearheaded by someone like you who understands the business, understands the industry, understands the application, understands the business model. As you say, to bring it together, there always has to be an orchestra leader for the band, right?
Yeah.
All the instruments are showing up, but right now it's desperate for a leader. And it's hard for someone like me as a thought leader to be a leader when your hands aren't on the lever to actually deliver it. And that's why the truth is, right, you're in a much more important position, because you can literally go down the hall, right, and order these things to be implemented and have them show up. I can help in the sense of to suggest what needs to be in that orchestra, what needs to be in that band. But that's why these are important phone calls. This is not about concept anymore. The pandemic happened. We came back into the mix. Are we going to let it go by? Our window is open. And we have an opportunity, I'm saying, to create some of the most exciting platforms using some of the best technologies, because that technology has matured. In every area I talked about today, I can literally, if I was going to share my screen, I could go on a website and create a buy button in 15 minutes that can appear on your blog selling my product. I can get artificial intelligently designed customers selected from a database that will match my customer profile of people who buy my products and join my company to sell. These are not concepts. These are realities, and it's going to take a master leader, I'm saying, to integrate this in a cost-effective, smart, simple onboarding way to make it look like where people are going to laugh one day and go, can you believe I used to have to go to a website to go buy a product? Are you kidding me? Did you really do that in your day? That's the world we're living in today. That's what's going on.
I love that thought about the underlying technology already being there. It's reality today, but it is that art of pulling it together and creating that end-to-end experience that allows people to participate in it, right? Not just the big influencers, but the everyone's an influencer, world that we do live in. Let's help to enable them, and let's make sure that every brand has an army of influencers that are empowered and enabled to go tell their story and benefit from doing so in whatever way they want to benefit, right? That's the other, cool concept. I kind of harken back to something you said a little bit earlier about comp plans, and you mentioned that there's if all you're doing, one of the thoughts that came to mind as you were talking about comp plans is if all you're doing is doing just a straight one-tier affiliate or even a multi-tier affiliate, that doesn't give you the nuances that you talked about of, hey, there actually could be an opportunity here for me to go and grow beyond that. Now you start right there, and there doesn't need to be any rocket science around, a little multi-tier, comp structure for customer acquisition. But then beyond that, there's a lot of other great things that could happen. We could create, people can create businesses around these things if you give them the right tools too, the right comp plans.
Every time when I was running a network marketing company, the greatest contribution that I made would happen around the 25th of the month, because I was able to see what we did well, and I was able to see what we didn't do. And then I always had 1 week, right, to come up with the promotional idea based on the comp plan of how I wanted to drive behavior for the following month. And so I had 12 times a year to manipulate behavior. And the greatest challenge was coming up with the idea. It was, could we program it? Can we execute it? Do I have to do it by hand on an Excel spreadsheet, right? Was I limited by my ideas, by my technology? And so that's where it's not about how many levels you pay. It's about how are you going to use your comp plan to motivate people to drive behavior. That's what the real leadership of it does. And so you need the kind of technology, I'm saying, that will never be available in an app in Shopify, right? In order to do that. It's just not going to happen.
Right. So we've got some good news. You mentioned some of it. We kind of have another shot at it, and it's almost ironically, caused by the pandemic. That's good news. Another bit of good news is that the trend of focusing more on customer acquisition versus rep acquisition is something that has taken hold and is happening. I'm looking at some data, even in the United States, where those numbers have dramatically increased in terms of customers versus independent sellers. If we lay over the top of that, your concept of compensating customers first before they even have to jump through any hoops, that would be really exciting, right? Yeah. For these brands.
And you'll find in the comp plans that do that, 80% of the customers use the money to buy more products, even though they can cash out and buy a pizza. They keep it where it is to buy more products.
Another aspect that's another aspect of this end-to-end experience management of the best-in-class tools that I believe DirectScale will be the market leader in, is those commission tools just being accessible and built right in. We've already got a lot of great integrations with partners there, but we can do more and we can make it better and more cohesive.
Yeah, and the other last piece that I wanted to say, that again, changing the mindset of the way people think about technology, is in Shopify, there's 1.2 million people paying between $29 a month and $2,000 a month and 0.5% of their sales because they value what technology can do for them. In network marketing, we're always afraid to ask our distributors to pay for anything. It's like if we ask them to pay, they're going to quit, right? Because the kind of technology we're offering them before was information technology, not customer acquisition technology. People in insurance and real estate, I'm saying traditionally paid for those kind of tools because there was a clear ROI. And when we move to this technology platform, the only way we can move there is if the distributors value it enough to pay for it as well. DirectScale cannot offer this to their companies at a cost-effective way if the company is paying for everything. It's just virtually impossible. So we can no longer be embarrassed about asking people to pay for something that's going to make them money. It doesn't become a cost anymore. It actually becomes almost a fear of loss for distributors. Yeah. So 85% of the distributors who are only customers never pay for anything. They get everything for free. They even get their money for free. They get their products for free if they buy enough. But the 15% of the people who do this full time, if we can show them that technology makes them money, they'll pay all day, and that makes this whole business model, this whole shift possible.
Yeah, you actually turn them into real entrepreneurs and allow them to see return on investment for those technology investments, and that works. So gig economy growth ain't going anywhere too. That thing just keeps marching on and on and on. There's probably a few other things we can kind of circle back on a little bit and hit, but one of the other things I looked up doing some research for this session with you was that what will spur gig economy growth, and there's a bunch of trends they list here for influencer marketing trends to watch in 2021. First of all, micro and nano influencers will get more love. So when I think about direct selling, that's exactly what I think about. I think about the loving those smaller influencers and finding ways for making it easy for brands to interact with them and making it easy for them to interact with brands in a way that benefits them. That's a really cool trend that's happening.
It's always like, do you remember
more specialization?
Before you move on to
that,
the power of brand. Do you remember when we used to wait for the Apple announcements and we'd see people on the news sleeping 3 days before to go buy a product? They'd stay online to go buy a product they could buy 3 days later from their living room. Let's not underestimate the power of community and brand and culture, right?
Yep. The thing it says is influencers will become more specialized. Now, I know this is looking at it from that lens of, really the influencer itself, but I think this is another opportunity for the direct selling industry to level up here, because what a direct selling company could provide is that specialized focus. Like if an influencer finds a match in a direct selling company for products and technologies that they love, then they've found a home and they can be an influencer for that brand. another side note there, I think brands also in our industry need to adapt and stop the insanity of, hey, you can only do this. Like, that's just not even a thing anymore, but those are kind of related topics to that trend.
The interesting thing about influencers, right, is, and it comes in the personal growth and development side, right? It used to be celebrity driven, right? But you notice how it moved to expertise driven. Everyone wanted to hear from a current CEO, not a guy who wrote a book about CEOs, right? If you're an expert hair cutter, if you're an expert masseuse, people are attracted and trust expertise. And that's the difference between being a celebrity, where Kim Kardashian may talk about skincare and you'd be shocked about how few people have the lack of conversion from her social media sites when it comes to real monetization, versus an expert in skincare, I'm saying, that people trust.
You know, and you're hitting on one of these other points that's listed here, and that is that authenticity will be the watchword. So you just nailed it, right? There's not a single person that doesn't understand. And if you don't understand, I should have a helpline or something so you could call. But I don't believe for 1 second that when I see a celebrity endorsement that they're really concerned about making my life better or giving me good advice, right? Across the board, by the way, not just product endorsements, pretty much anything. But that's another area where I think there's a unique opportunity for this industry to really stand up and just own it. Look, we are the industry of authentic relationships and connecting people to products and services that will make a difference and matter for them. Like that seems to be a really good sweet spot for this space.
The one thing that our industry never ever has gotten the credit for that it deserves is we actually have really great products in our vertical. Part of the reason is it doesn't cost a lot of money to have a great product versus an inexpensive product at the cost level. And most companies, when faced with that choice, spend the extra couple of bucks, I'm saying, and actually have superior products. I mean, our products do change people's lives. I mean, obviously, if it's your telecom or electricity, it may not. But I'm saying if it's a skincare product or a nutritional product, it really does show up in people's lives, which again creates this natural, organic conversations, which is always the essence of our business.
Yeah, I'm probably a good, personal testimonial of that, because as you know, I've had a lot of relationships with a lot of different companies and brands over the years, and there are certain products that you'll still find around my house. Right. So yeah, that's a testimony to there's some good products, and some great other benefits that bring. There was a tongue-in-cheek moment, I think, about, personal development and things like that. But I do still think that they're, community and belonging and helping, being around people that are encouraging you to be better and actually helping you to be better. And those are all awesome things that I think we can also bring to the party.
But as you say, like this morning, you and I were on a Clubhouse together, right? Clubhouse got more than 10 million people in 4 months because they're a community, right? They don't sell a product, right? Yeah. There's no upside other than opening the door to people you normally wouldn't have a chance to either listen to or actually engage with. 10 million people, I'm saying, in 4 months, because the power of community. What else do we need to know? Right now, you put a product on that and monetize it. Oh, we're back to MLM. Okay.
There it goes. Well, listen, I think that we've hit on some really great stuff, and I appreciate you being here today and giving your perspective. Let's keep the conversation and the dialogue going, and let's bring it into action, and let's deliver together and find the best way to, again, help brands in this space to be dramatically successful, leveraging current technologies, the buy button everywhere, attributed back to the comp plan that we've got.
I know before the call you probably erased that whiteboard, so because I know that you have a time frame on all this. Again, this is not theoretical. Like I said to Rodger, 1 year from today, we're going to be back on this Zoom, and we're going to be talking about the tangible changes that we've seen in the industry, and the next generation of tangible changes that will come.
Yeah, delivering that path for people and being, I think, a little bit more prescriptive maybe than we've tried to be in the past about, hey, here's how you do it. Here's how you make it happen in today's world. I think companies are starving for that, and frankly, even some that are bigger than you might think. Right. So it's not only these early stage companies that are trying to build some brand equity, but it's even some of the larger brands that are just kind of not understanding exactly how to move in this new space. But we're going to do our best to help them get there.
Michael Jordan had a coach too, right? No one reaches a level where they don't want to hear advice.
That's right. Yeah, I find myself probably more hungry for coaching the more that I know. So, well, hey man, listen, I appreciate you being here. We'll wrap it up for today, and we'll be sharing this recording out in several different channels. This content will be available out and about, but look for more conversations like this and more, drilling into some of these areas coming out from DirectScale and other thought leaders like Steve that we'll be partnering with to do that. So thank you very much for your time today, Steve, and everyone who joined us.
Thanks,
everybody. We look forward to doing great things in the future.
Special thank you to Danny, who I know made us both look good by looking like we knew what to do with technology today, right?
Right on. Yes, thank you all. All right,
Thanks,
we'll
everybody.
talk to you soon, bro. Take care.
All right.